I'm Anthony F. Elmore, President and Founder of the Proud Black Buddhist World Association. We at the Proud Black Buddhist World Association practice the Buddhist teachings as taught by the 13th century Japanese Buddhist sage Nichiren Shu. It was Nichiren Shu that teach us that the highest of the Buddha Shakyamuni's teachings was that of the Lotus Sutra, and the only sutra that we should regard as supreme is the Lotus Sutra. Now, today we have an exciting Buddhist lecture for you today. Our lecture today is Black Buddhist Negroes. When you see Black Buddhists, don't you wonder about these Negroes? Today, we're going to get into the subject of Black Buddhist Negroes. This Black Buddhist lecture comes about because of the actions of the Facebook group, the Black Buddhist Society. The Facebook Black Buddhist Society description reads, quote, Black Buddhist Society is for Black people of Afro-Indigenous descent in the world who are interested in currently studying and practicing Buddhism. If you are looking to connect with like-minded people and wish to share knowledge, learn meditation, spiritual guidance, etc., revolving around the Buddha Dharma and Sangha, feel free to do so here. All areas of Buddhism are welcome, unquote. See, this is what you must understand about the Black Buddhist Society and about Black people who are taught Buddhism by whites and Asians comes back to the subject of a lecture I did in 2016 called The Mis-education of the Buddhist Negro. Please Google the words The Mis-education of the Buddhist Negro and you will see a national newswire release that reads, quote, Anthony F. Elmore, President and Founder of the Proud Black Buddhist World Association, posted his first Buddhist lecture for 2016, The Mis-education of the Buddhist Negro. Elmore notes that in regards to African Americans in the Buddhist teachings, the world's most miseducated Buddhists in the world are African American Buddhists. Elmore, a 5-time world karate kickboxing champion, lives in Memphis, Tennessee, is making it his life's mission to challenge the miseducation of African Americans in regards to the Buddha and Buddhist teachings, unquote. You see, in addition to my 2016 news release, I did a lecture titled The Mis-education of the Buddhist Negro. Listen to words from my 2016 lecture. Let's explain the theses of the book that's called The Mis-education of the Negro. The thesis of Dr. Woodson's book is that African Americans of his day were being culturally indoctrinated rather than taught in American schools. This conditioning, he claims, causes African Americans to become dependent and to seek out inferior places. He claims causes African Americans to become dependent. Now, and to seek out inferior places in the greater society of which they are a part. He challenges his readers to become autodidacts and do for themselves, regardless of what they were taught. Now, we at the Proud Black Buddhist World Association note that Black Americans who are being taught Buddhism from the Asians of Japanese sects like the SGI, Nichiren Shu and Nichiren Shu, and other sects are the subject of this lecture, The Mis-education of the Buddhist Negro. What we prove in this lecture, or what we bring about in this lecture, we prove that the SGI, Nichiren Shu and Nichiren Shu, they are creating miseducated Black or miseducated Buddhist Negroes. Now, please Google our September 2nd, 2015 news release that reads, Proud Black Buddhists Challenge Japanese Racism and Asian Domination of Buddhism. The release reads, quote, Anthony F. Elmore of the Proud Black Buddhist Association is redefining the Buddhist religion from an esoteric Oriental religion to a 21st century religion inclusive of Black history, culture, and science. Black Buddhists promote an active agenda called Waking Up the World's Bodhisattvas of the Earth. The rap song says, we put you guys on alert. We are the Bodhisattvas of the Earth, unquote. See, the release further reads, Memphis, Tennessee, September 2nd, 2015. It reads, when Dr. Martin Luther King died in Memphis, Tennessee in 1968, Anthony F. Elmore was 15 years old. Not a day goes by in the life of Elmore where he does not think of Dr. Martin Luther King. If you speak to Elmore, he will tell you the one thing that he shares with Dr. King is that they both are Bodhisattvas of the earth. The story of the Bodhisattvas of the earth was preached over 2,500 years ago in the Lotus Sutra by one known in the world as the Buddha. Anthony F. Elmore is the first Black Buddhist in modern world history to teach and preach Buddhism via social media. Elmore created the Proud Black Buddhist website in 1998, 20 years ago. Elmore hosted on the web the #1 Black Buddhist website for 20 years. If you type the word Black Buddhist in the website, he was always #1 on Google. Elmore has since moved to Google YouTube videos via the Anthony Elmore video channel. Anthony F. Elmore is the most prolific Black Buddhist writer, publisher, YouTube Buddhist lecturer in world history. Elmore has posted nearly 600 videos on YouTube, and his subject matter is unprecedented and broad in range, where he is premiering on Sunday, October 15, 2019, Dr. Brimhill Ambedkar, World's Greatest Indian, a Black Buddhist story. Elmore has scheduled the Harriet Tubman Black Buddhist Lecture to premiere on Wednesday, September the 18th, 2019. This lecture, Black Buddhist Negroes, came as an opportunity created by the Facebook group Black Buddhist Society. The Black Buddhist Society, without explanation, warning, and with malice, they removed Anthony F. Elmore from posting or reviewing about their group. I, Anthony F. Elmore, note, in my 50 years as a Black Buddhist on planet Earth, the greatest display and practice of a stereotypical Black Buddhist male in the 20th century is displayed by Brother on the Path. This brother is apparently a Thailand, Cambodia, South Asian Buddhist monk. His life seems to be made for a television movie story. The question is there something to his story, or is he just a Negro with a robe and a bald head? Ask yourself the question, is this brother real, or is he a jive-time Negro? Nichiren Shu writes in the Gosho, you can know the mind of another person by listening to his voice. Let us listen to Brother on the Path.
Minute meditation. Please, I beg you, with all sincerity and all hope, from the bottom of my heart, do not let people with ill intentions manifest your failure upon your success. If someone, something, some entity is manifesting your failures upon you into the physical world, that means you don't believe firmly in your success. Nothing is going to go perfect, and things are 50-50, up and down. But I need you to give yourself the full benefit of believing yourself to manifest what it is that you want above those that want to see you fail. It is completely imperative, and I wish you the best.
Let us go to the teachings of the Lotus Sutra that relates to the 1933 book, The Mis-education of the Negro. In the Gosho titled, The Gift of Rice, Nichiren writes, quote, "The true path lies in affairs of this world." The Golden Light Sutra states, quote, "To have a profound knowledge of this world is itself Buddhism." The Nirvana Sutra states, quote, "All of the non-Buddhist scriptures and writings in society are themselves Buddhist teachings, not non-Buddhist teachings," unquote. See, when we read books like The Mis-education of the Negro, this is actually Buddhist teachings and not non-Buddhist teachings. The Gosho further reads, quote, "When the great teacher Milo compared these passages with the one from the 6th volume of the Lotus Sutra that reads, quote, "No worldly affairs of life or work are ever contrary to the true reality," he revealed their meaning and pointed out that although the first two sutras are profound, since their meaning is still shallow and fails to approach that of the Lotus Sutra, they relate to secular matters in terms of Buddhism, whereas the Lotus Sutra explains that in the end, secular matters are the entirety of Buddhism, unquote. See, we have to understand that secular matters are the entirety of Buddhism. When we seek Buddhist teachers, we seek Buddhism as only an Asian or a Buddhist on a mountain meditating. This is what Dr. Carter G. Woodson writes in the book, The Mis-education of the Negro. Dr. Woodson says, quote, "African Americans of his day were being culturally indoctrinated rather than taught in American schools. This condition," he claims, "caused African Americans to become dependent and seek out inferior places in greater society of which they are a part." He challenged his readers to become autodidacts and to do for themselves regardless of what they are told. Now, the point that black people must understand is that Asians, whites, and black people taught by Asians and whites are being culturally indoctrinated rather than taught. This is the harm that Asians and whites do to black people in regards to black Buddhist history. Asians, whites, and blacks taught by Asians and whites allow all black history, culture, and language to be extricated from Buddhist teachings. Not only are black people being culturally indoctrinated rather than taught, this is what the father of history, Dr. Carter G. Woodson, writes on the matter. He says, quote, "Those who have no record of what their forebears have accomplished lose the inspiration which comes from the teachings of biography and history. The essence, what Asians, whites, and blacks taught Buddhism by Asians and whites, they are creating miseducated black Buddhist Negroes. What you have in the black Buddhist society is a group of miseducated Negroes who do not want a person like proud black Buddhist President Anthony Elmore to be a part of the group. They don't want me around so they can continue to miseducate other blacks and create other miseducated black Buddhist Negroes." Let us move to the Buddhist religion in America. What you will find in America in regards to Buddhism is the fact that black leaders are in non-black roles in Buddhism. Please understand that being black is not necessarily genetic, but being black is your culture, your language, and your history. Now, the top African American or black leaders in the SGI and Nichiren Shu are genetically black women. What makes these women unique is that you have black women with Japanese mothers unlike President Obama, who defines himself as African American, or the first black president in America, what you have in these black women are individuals who do not define themselves as black. Let me take on Muke Shonen. Now, Muke Shonen we first read about her, I think it's about 2010, 2009, something like that. She was featured on the CNN show, Black in America. Even though she was featured on the CNN show, Black in America, look at McKay Shonen. McKay Shonen emphasizes or have a total, almost a 100% proclivity to her Japanese heritage. And that way, when you look at the bald head, you look at the dress, you listen to her language, and you listen to her talk, she is a Japanese woman with a black father, as opposed to being a black woman with a Japanese mother. You see, I got introduced to McKay Shonen through my friend Shaka Calfani. Now, I had left Nichiren Shu and I wanted to examine Nichiren Shu. So I went to meetings at Shaka's house, and we had agreed that we was going to call this, our group, Memphis Proud Black Buddhists. Now, when Muke Shonen heard about us trying to call this organization Memphis Proud Black Buddhists, this woman raised holy hell and said, "You can't name no organization Memphis Proud Black Buddhists. What about white people?" You see, in the Black Lives Movement, or things that were black, for example, when Dr. Martin Luther King marched, white people took up black causes. We can go in history and look up John Brown, a white man who fought against slavery. Good people, no matter if they're black or white or blue, brown or yellow, they believe in justice, and justice is actually supposed to be colorblind. Now, what Muke Shonen had an issue with, she had an issue with a black man standing up and being proud and indulging into his black culture, black history. See, she has a problem with blackness. Now, what I was told on Thanksgiving Day 2013, I wrote a letter to Muke Shonen and the Nichiren Shu leaders, and I quoted the Gosho, "Winter always turns into spring," and there's a quote in the Gosho about the sick child, in that when the Buddha Shakyamuni was about to die, he lamented that even though I'm about to die, I worry about King Ajatashatru. Well, it was asked of him, the Buddha's mercy is equal to all. Why do you worry about King Ajatashatru? And the Buddha replied that if a parent have, 8 children, they worry most about the sick child. And what I tried to present to Muke Shonen was, we black people faced the slavery. We faced the worst inhumanity against humankind in the history of America. We faced the worst. We've had to overcome the worst of suffering. However, the Buddha's mercy would be to look after the sick child, and there should be no problem after black people looking after black people. We're not against white people, but we want to help the persons who need it the most. For example, in Memphis, Tennessee, we have a record amount of murders in Memphis. Just like in Chicago, they had over 700 murders, black people killing other black people. We need the Buddhist teachings more than anybody else, and there should be no problem to find a sense of culture, a sense of history. But what Muke Shonen did, she had Shaka to call me and cuss me out, told me I was no longer welcome to come to a Nichiren Shu meeting. I even did a lecture right here and me and I was trying to teach my son about Buddhism, and the Nichiren Shu priest, Reverend Rudin, said, oh, I'm just shaking my head. Oh, you got this idea about black. Or I told my son that on the Gohanzon, you had the black gods on the Gohanzon, and this guy want to argue with me about the black gods on the Gohanzon and said they're not black, it just means emotions. And he argued over the fact that the first shogun of Japan, Sakanaro Tomohiro, was a black man because black people were in Japan, and because he don't have a history of Japanese people, he wanted to discredit me. And I told the sucker, all he got to do is Google, and you yourself, all you got to do is Google the black shogun of Japan. But we're not going to get too much into that. I want to also deal with the top SGI leader, and her name is Akemi Bailey Heine. Now, she actually is a friend of mine, and that they and her family came to this very house 30 years ago. I know her father, I know her family, but what I have to say about Akemi Bailey Heine is that they don't look out for the best interests of black people, even though they have faith in Buddhism that is very strong. Now, what I want you to do, I want you to listen to the words of Dr. Akemi Bailey Heine, and she was asked the question, how does she see herself? And what you will find is a direct opposite of President Obama. You see, President Obama's mother was a white woman from Kansas, and his father was a black man from Kenya. However, President Obama has no problems or no issue defining himself as a black man or as an African American, whereas Dr. Akemi Bailey Heine, when she is asked how does she see herself, she sees herself as other. Let's listen to her own words in an interview that she did with the Chicago television station. Let's listen to her, and we're going to come back and put a period on this lecture.
So how do you answer the questions that I hate in this country, which is to classify yourself, right? And when you fill out all the demographic forms, so what do you put?
I always put other.
Okay.
And, or I check African American, I check Asian, I check both.
See, I'm a big advocate for we should be able to check as much as we want.
Because why I do that is because to check one and not the other totally negates my mother.
Right, right.
Or to check my mother totally negates my father.
Right.
I'm part Japanese and African American. That's my life. That's who I am. It makes me who I am, and so to cause a human being to not even, first of all, acknowledge that, I think is not the way of creating a wonderful humanity.
You heard the words of Dr. Akemi Bailey Heine. Now, Buddhism is about the law of cause and effect. President Barack Obama Jr., who made the cause of defining himself as a black person and not other or both, resulted to us having the first black president of the United States of America. You see, you can go to Halle Berry, or we can go through history like Booker T. Washington, or we can go to W.E.B. Du Bois, or we can look at the black colleges, and you will find that the black colleges were started because white people wanted their black children to get an education. They couldn't go to white schools, so they set up black schools. One example is right here in Tennessee, Fisk University, and many of the black colleges were started by whites who wanted to give their black kids an education. You see, biracial and being black is two different things. You see, many people who could call themselves biracial, but what if Booker T. Washington or W.B. Du Bois, or even today we look at Alicia Keys, or we go back and we look at the late Bob Marley, or we look at Jimi Hendrix, or we look at Malcolm X, or some of the greatest black heroes who have come to America, who are not just black heroes, but they were American heroes. What if these heroes did what a Dr. Kami Bailey did and not call herself black? But she is a reflection of the mentality of those Buddhists who are trained by the SGI, or those Buddhists who are trained by Asians. There you have it. The Black Buddhist Society is Black Buddhist Negroes. They are not going to associate with proud Black Buddhists. Their minds are trained by Asians and whites. But anyway, I think we said enough. I am Anthony M. Elmore, the Black Buddhist voice in America, proud Black Buddhist. Thank you very much.